Welcome to another episode of Your Voice Matters. Hello and welcome. It's Sunday afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Your Voice Matter. I am your girl, Viv Cunningham, with Preferred Real Estate Brokers, selling the American dream here in Central Florida. And I'm so excited, but we need some rain. We need some rain. So I was talking to mom today and we were on our way to Wildwood videotape a house for a buyer that was buying sight on scene, and it is dry, so we need some rain here in Central Florida. But I'm so excited for you to be able to come onto the show today. And today we have Miss Allison here today, and she's going to be talking about freeing up your time and giving back your time to your family. And she's a transaction coordinator, also known as a transaction manager, because she manages your transaction and a whole bunch more. So I'm going to let Allison introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself. So take it away, Allison.
Thank you, Vivian. My name is Allison. As Vivian told you, I am the president and transaction coordinator of Essential Real Estate Services. And our goal is to free up real estate agents' time once we get under contract. I think about now we're averaging saving realtors about 20 hours a month. And I'm sure that's something every real estate agent can use to get back in their time, rather it be prospecting for more clients or spending time with yourself or your family. Whatever you choose to do with that time, it's up to you. So I'm very excited to be on here and discuss what services transaction coordinators in general offer. I can't speak on all of them, but I can definitely speak from my point of view on what my company offers. So if there's any questions as we go along, please feel free to ask. Let me know. Yep. So in short, what I like to always ask agents is, are you running a business? Simple question.
Yeah.
When we're running a business, it's yes, you can do it by yourself, but is it best to do so by yourself? I always also use the example of, I know how to do a little light plumbing. Does that mean I need to be a plumber?
I know, like,
does that mean exactly. I could change a handle on the toilet, but a plumber may come in like, there's a better way to do this. And because you did it this way, this is what's going to happen. So I tend to let plumbers and whoever service people do their job because they do it day in and they do it day out. So it's second nature versus me wasting 6 hours of my day changing a toilet handle. They can come in 15 minutes, it's done. It's like, wow, I wasted 6 hours of my life. So that's the way I kind of see where the role of transaction coordinators come into real estate agents' lives. Because I say, if you're really serious about your business, it's time to really talk about building your team. And that usually includes having an assistant that can help you with showings, data entry, things like that, CRM management, your social media manager, because you don't want to spend hours on Canva creating listing templates and posts. That's not necessarily always the best use of your time. And then there's where transaction coordinators come in. Once you've worked hard, gotten your client under contract, do you really want to be wasting your time trying to remember when is that loan approval due?
I know, right?
Like, let me go back to the contract. Wait a minute. It was 30 days from, but what was the effective date?
I know. Nightmare
scenario. So yes. I was a real estate agent very briefly about 20 years ago. Sales is not my thing, but what I do love is systems and processes. And that's what I created. And I love real estate. So I got to bring both of those together. And I saw the need for, because I find real estate agents tend to be one type of personality. Transaction coordinators are a different type of personality. So for instance, for myself, I just love to streamline things. I love compliance. I love forms. I know it's weird, but I do. And so that's where we come in. We are basically here to make sure that contract to close process moves efficiently in a timely manner, alleviating the majority of your input and replying to emails and things like that. We try to be the first point of contact to minor details. To break it down a little bit for you, when you're working with a transaction coordinator such as myself, the first thing we do, which I think is probably the most vital offer that we do have is contract compliance, because you'll be amazed. I mean, I see hundreds of contracts every month. You would be amazed at how many contracts are really not executed.
Yeah.
You would be like,
Yeah.
and I have seen, unfortunately, in my business, I have seen attorneys and title companies like really come at the agent. I've had an agent lose their commission because of a contract that was not fully executed. She lost her commission because one client said, I didn't initial it. It was a credit to the buyer or something. And she said, I didn't initial it, so it's coming out of your commission. And she paid
Right.
it.
So now when something is like that,
Mhm.
do you help your agent with things like that? When you look at it and says,
Right.
hey Jan, do you realize line 12 is not
Exactly.
initials?
That is the first thing we do. So when I see
Okay.
an email come in, the contract is on there. Before I do anything, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
setting it up in I have my own software that I use for the timeline and reminding my agents. The first thing we do is we go through every line.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we're like you said, Jan, initials missing on page 6. We don't have an executed contract, or
Right.
this actual signature is missing. Or what happens a lot is on, in the far bar, page 12, there's the writer's disclosures. They might be
Mm-hmm.
checked off, but they're nowhere attached to the contract. It's like,
Right.
what are you disclosing?
Right.
It's not, it has to be a part of the contract. So that's the first thing. They'll get a nice email from me, in case I'm not able to get the signature initial for them. Like, this is what we're missing on the contract. And it's amazing, man. And I have wonderful agents, but they're just out there. They're pushing for their clients. They're excited. But sometimes I have to, like, we're not on the contract yet. Please get this in. Let's get it done. What do let me send it out to this person. Or if it's the other agent, then, sometimes that can be a little taxing to get it completed. But, it's very important. I always use the examples of, like, even with the effective date.
Mm-hmm.
I've had an attorney, an agent that I know of, she was the listing side, and the buyer did not initial the condo writer. So when they finally did a week later, the buyer's attorney said, well, now we have an effective date. So the
Right.
buyer got an entire extra week for their
Yeah.
inspection period.
Right.
It was livid. So they had 2 weeks to decide whatever they wanted to do with this condo, because they never got that initial. So yeah, that is the first thing that we do before we start sending out intros and everything like that. We make sure we have an actual compliant and executed contract. That is the very, very, very first step. And yes, we do assist with getting the initial signatures that are missing, things like that. So yeah, that's step one for us.
Now,
And then,
if they send it to you, okay,
Mhm.
just like you said, the writer has to be with. So let's say I sent you a full executed contract, okay, as in the contract itself is executed, but let's say all of a sudden that an addendum is missing, the writer is
Mhm.
missing, like you said. So now, what will happen if the writer is missing, okay, and then and the contract itself is executed? What will your team do?
We will get that missing writer. It was the same thing. We'll let you know, because sometimes maybe you just forgot to attach it. So I'll say, hey, the lead-based paint disclosures checked off. Do we have an executed one that maybe wasn't sent to me? And if it wasn't, then we'll work on getting it filled out. If it was coming from the selling side, get a copy of it and get the initials and signature. So now we have an executed contract. Yes,
So
I don't send out half contracts.
Okay, so now will it go back from, okay, so let's say that person did not, it wasn't executed, they didn't sign it. So let's say we had to wait 3 days in order to get that addendum, that
Right.
writer executed. What will happen? What will be your effective date of contract?
I have had, this is my opinion, and this is the opinion of most attorneys in real estate that I know. It's when that contract, that addendum, that writer came back executed.
Right.
But I work with the agent, so I always ask, have you discussed this with the other agent? What is the effective date? Because at the end of the day, if you're both agreeing that it was today and not on Tuesday, that is between you, and I will use the effective date that both agents have decided on. I will always give my advice and say, I do not believe that is correct, but it is your license, and this is, if you're both saying this is how we're moving forward, then that's how we're moving forward. But I will always give my 2 cents on anything, so that you're aware that, if I think something's wrong, I just don't brush it under the rug. I'll say, I don't think this is correct. But if you want pushback and say, no, we're making it Sunday, it's not our fault they took 2 days to get it back,
Right,
you both agree.
but when even though the contract is executed, and then let's say it's executed and they executed it maybe let's say 3 days ago. Let's use 3 days, but they didn't send it back to you. But all of a sudden, 3 days later, they send it back to you with that date 3 days ago. What do you do about something like that?
That again is, and I always say, I'm not here to replace the agents. I always give my advice. And I say, if this was never delivered, as it states it's supposed to be in the FAR bar contract, if this was never delivered, complete executed the other party, you did not have an effective date 3 days ago. It is today. If everything is completed and delivered to the correct parties, it is today. That's why I always say, have you discussed this with the other agent? Was this a mutual decision to move forward from such and such a date? But I will say the effective date is today. Just so you know. So if it ever comes back from an attorney or title or whoever might have to get involved because of a discrepancy, I always give my advice, but you are the agent. And if you say this is the effective date, this is what we're working with. And
so when you send out that welcome letter, okay, when you send that welcome letter out, you send okay, so you got all your documents,
right?
You got everything. So now let's say it came back to it was signed yesterday and it came back to you today, and when you send out your letter and you just like you said, you discuss it with the agent, and even though the agent got the contract back today and it was signed yesterday, when you send out your welcome letter, what effective date do you put on that?
I put the one that my agent tells me to. That is who I'm working with. So if I'm working with you and you say today's the effective date, even though I've told you my opinion, if you say today's the effective date and not 3 days from today or whatever, that is where we move forward. But I guide. I'm not here to replace you or, take over and make decisions for you or your client, but I always do advise. So if you say, no, we're still using X amount of date, that's the date we use. That is it.
Right. Because your client is your boss.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, we work together. I'm here to assist, be a member of the team. But at the end of the day, and I always tell agents, it's your license. I'm just here to try and help you protect anything that might come against it. And I try to do it as best as I can. But at the end of the day, it's your contract, it's your decision.
So. Right. And buying real estate is very complicated. The FAR bar contract is written by a pool of attorney.
Yes.
So that's why it's called Florida Bar, because they're an attorney that sits down and write it. People don't understand that's why it's called FAR Bar.
Right.
Yes. Sit down and write that. And they write it so complicated. Why don't you just write it plain and simple?
Right. Okay. I would love for them, and I say this every year, every few years when they redo the FAR Bar, can we put a line that says effective date? Like, no matter what, this is the effective date. Because I believe on land or commercial contracts, it has it on there that you're agreeing to whatever it might be. This is the date the contract's going to be effective. So if we are missing something and it takes the other side or our own clients 2 days to sign something, at least we have a date that both parties agreed to was going to be the effective date versus, when you got the last initial signature or sending it back via computer. If we had a section where, we agreed this is the effective date regardless, then there's no dispute on that. And that's I'm
going to take that in consideration. So when I'm sitting inside anything that I get and voice my opinion, that we need to have a section in it and says that's effective date, because then it becomes confusing when is the effective date. It's just like when I talk to people about getting their inspection done, and I said 1 day is yesterday to today. So you got the contract yesterday at 12 o'clock. So 12 o'clock today is 1 day. People don't understand that. Okay. And then today to tomorrow is 2 days. That's how I explain it to them, because that's how it works. The day before, it's not a whole day. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, but a lot of people, don't understand how a transaction coordinator helps us out with those dates. And just like you said, you're going to look over it and making sure that the effective date. So therefore you said, you go with your client and you said, hey, what day do you want to make the effective date? And I'm glad that you're able to do that with your client to make sure that they understand, because some agents are new. I mentor a lot of people and they're new and they don't understand. And I'm glad that you have the ability. I'm glad that you have the technology and you have the system in order to be able to help them to find out what is the effective date, since it's not spelled out in the contract, because these attorneys just think that when they write the contract, they need to be tricking you. It's just like when they write the exam for the real estate exam.
Oh, yeah.
They're just trying to trick you. I talked to a friend of mine, and he said he took the real estate exam 15 times.
Oh, wow.
Because it's tricky when you go in there to take those tests. It's like mind-boggling, and they have 4 answers that are pretty much the same except for one word.
They are.
You know that you took it.
I took it. I did take it.
And you wonder why they don't just spill it out and just make it plain and simple instead of trying to trick somebody, because real estate is such a complicated thing, and that's why you need so many people, and that's why people who are getting inside the feel of buying a house or something like that, I said they need to take a home buyers class, and they need to hire a transaction coordinator. So when do you recommend that somebody hire a transaction coordinator? Okay, they're new, they don't have any money. Okay, they can't afford your fee. The broker might be taking 50% out of their money, and you're not getting any money. So then, therefore, to afford a transaction coordinator, it's going to be very hard to afford it, because here you have paid out all these fees, and you spend so much money, and you have no money, and you're broke. So when do you suggest that they, a person that cannot afford it, when do you suggest that they hire one?
I suggest at any level you're at. I have agents that are brand new, and maybe somebody referred them to me. And it's because I've been doing it for a while on the contract end. I'm not good at giving you sales tips, but on the contract end, I've been able to help quite a few new agents. Like, I didn't know that. So even though money may be tight, what they learn and the mistakes they were able to avoid on their very first transaction sets them up for success. So I say it's all the time. It's like, when I started my business, could I afford this, or was it worth it? Was it worth finding that extra few dollars? And it also depends on who you're working with. If you're working with somebody that's not giving you insight or doesn't have insight into helping you, or can't, then it's probably not worth your time. But if you have somebody that you can pick up the phone and be like, I don't want to ask Mike, because we get this. I don't want to ask my broker. It's a stupid question. But they're like, thank you so much. It's like either their broker's not available, or they just don't feel comfortable asking because they don't want to, be seen a certain way. So, I mean, we're not real estate agents. We're not attorneys. And we always start off by saying that. And it's always a big joke, but we've seen a few things. So we can tell you what something means in a title commitment or a lien search or in a contract, just so, to build up your own knowledge. So, and even our seasoned agents, they still call us, because it's like, yes, I've been doing it 15 years. And then they realize after working with us, it's kind of like, I didn't know that, or I wasn't doing that in my process. So it's at any point that you're really serious about growing your business, I say use a transaction coordinator. It's a cost of doing business. Everything we do is a cost of doing business. And it's a matter of how well do you want to grow? Do you want to stay in an area where, yes, I'm not going to spend the money, but don't realize what I might be missing out? It's one thing if you try it and say, I didn't need it, it didn't work out, whatever it might be. But I suggest using a transaction coordinator, one that is actually helpful.
Right off the bat, you're saying right off the bat to help you. And then for that new agent, do you help to teach that new agent? Like said, okay, do you take them by the hands and says, okay, yes, when you get a contract, you need to make sure the contract is executed. Once it's executed, then you send it over to me.
Right. We do a lot of educating, but not on purpose. It's just, we don't leave anybody out to hang. So we don't know what we're going to get with a new agent. Some may have had, really good in-office training, so they know a lot. So, we don't try to like tell you how to do it. But once you start sending us contracts, we can see where we could be of help, or like make a note, like, okay, when you do this, like for instance, loan approval, sometimes on the far bar might leave it blank. So, it's 30 days standard, but guess what? Your 30 days landed outside your closing date. So we'll say next time, watch that. Because now you have a closing date, let's say of April 1st, but your loan approval is due April 3rd. Just watch those things, because it happens, but they're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. So so we advise also, like, just to, give yourself a heads up when you're writing contracts. We're not there with you, so be mindful of the dates you're putting in to make sure they actually fall within the closing timeline. So they learn little things like that, and which lines they may have forgotten to fill out, or if they didn't understand something, they'll shoot a call. So Yeah, we don't purposely train, but it always ends up happening because
Yeah.
nobody knows everything.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
does. So, we're here to fill in those gaps.
And that's why there's so many people on the team that needs to,
Right.
that plays a part. Now with addendums, okay, so
Mhm.
let's say we went in and we did an inspection
Right.
and we find out that there's work that needs to be done. Do you fill out those addendum for your clients?
We do draft addenda. I don't read inspection reports, so I'm not going to say this is what needs to be on there. But if you
No,
say,
right.
right, if you could just even highlight it and screenshot it and send it to me, we'll write it up.
Right.
We have our
Okay.
verbiage we use for it, get the signatures out, things like that.
Right.
We have standard verbiage we use for contracts if we're doing a price reduction, name change. We have a lot of stuff that we've created that we can just plug in and get you going really, really quick. But if it's something off the wall, new, and yeah, then we'll ask for the verbiage just to make
Yeah,
sure.
right. Because what I do is, if I need something done, let's say it's in the inspection report, I send the inspection report to the buyer and have the
Yeah.
buyer read it over.
Yep.
I like the inspectors that actually has a summary on the front of it,
Yes.
so then therefore at least you have the summary, so you can easily copy that and send it to your transaction manager or transaction
Right.
coordinator. Make it a lot easier for them to be able to fill it out. But I always send it back to them and tell them to read it, because it's your
Yeah.
responsibility to read it, and then you tell me and my transaction coordinator what do you want fixed or what do you want
Exactly.
done, and then
Exactly.
and then of course you fill it out, you get it signed, and then get it executed, and
Yep.
from there, because you're helping them, because just like you said, some of them are new and then some of them are seasoned, and they still need help.
They do. They do. And I find like some agents, they're just not comfortable writing formal documents sometimes. So they'll say, put this in your words, like, make this look and sound better. And it's like, but at least, give me something to work with. So we'll do that as well, because they want to look professional too. And they know writing may not be their strong suit. So they'll send it over to make sure everything, looks nice and neat. No.
Right. But that's a lot of people don't know the value that you give,
Mhm.
to the people that you're working with, and you and I coordinate with lenders, things
Yeah.
like that. I do keep my eyes. Now when you send out emails to title company, to buyer's agent, whatever, seller's agent, whatever, now you keep your client, copied on that as well?
Correct. So my agents are copied on every email that is sent out, not necessarily the buyer or seller, but the agent themselves, everything. So if title comes back and says something, you're aware of it. Or if the lender's not being responsive to me, you can see that. And
Right.
my primary source of communication is email. Like I said, I come from a compliance world. I like everything in writing.
Hmm.
Yes, I may have to pick up a phone a time or two, but I prefer my emails because I can say this is what was said on which date. This is when the information was relayed. So, and then the agent also can go through the history and see what's been transpiring. I don't like when I've heard agents, I had no idea what's going on in my transactions. Like,
Right.
that's not acceptable.
Right.
No, you may choose not to know what's going on,
Right.
but
You
if
need
you
to
look
know
in your
what's going on,
inbox,
because you're the
you'll
licensed
see.
agent. It's your license that's
Right,
on,
right.
on, on tap for that.
Yeah. You
Not
will
the
see several
transaction
emails
manager.
from me. Yeah. You can't
Yeah.
say, I didn't send you anything. No.
Right. Right.
You have, and if you need to go through and say, well, what's going on with the loan approval? Literally, you will see my loan approval. And I'm very strategic in the emails. And everybody's different, but I have an organization system that I identify every part of our transaction by that. So if I'm asking information about an appraisal, that's what that email is concerning. I'm not asking for a seller's property disclosure on that email, because if we ever need to find information, everything is titled with the property address, what we're communicating about, and that's it. So another topic, it's on a different email chain. So if you ever need to print it out for your records or anything, it is always organized. You're not going to have random emails. I'm just like that. Not everybody is, but I'm very anal about like my organization and keeping topics to that topic, so we
I,
know what we're talking
I
about.
like that organization. Now tell me about, let's stay on email a little bit. Now, okay, so I have elderly clients that I work with who don't have email. What do you do about that?
My agents that, I mean, usually because of a lot of e-signing, even though they may not look at it, my clients, I have elderly clients, my agents that have elderly clients, they tend to say, they'll say send the email just so they have it in their box. But what I found is they prefer to just do the hands-on with those elderly clients. They
Right.
tend not, yeah, because they get confused. They don't need
Yes.
all these people calling them, but they're
Yeah.
like, send it so it's there in case like their friend or daughter or son ever gets, they could look at it and review with them. But they tend to like to just deal with them firsthand. But I still do all my normal stuff. But yeah, they don't want them getting too confused, like who's calling me now, and what does she want, and why is she explaining title? No, we don't need to confuse them even more. But I have quite a few of my elderly clients. They're very email savvy, but the ones that don't, the agents tend just to communicate with important things, to not, you know,
Yeah,
make them
because what I do with my elderly client, I print out the stuff. Okay.
right.
Like I said, I don't want to confuse them. I print it out
Mhm.
and I drive it to them and let them watch the pictures
Exactly.
and scan it back in, because you want to make sure the transaction is easy for them, because they're
Right.
elderly and they don't use computer very well.
Right.
So you want to make it as compliant as less complicated as possible.
Exactly.
So what I have transaction coordinator that used to actually just physically print it out and bring it to them, sign it and scan it back in,
Mhm.
because you know what, you got to meet the client where they are.
Right. Right. Right.
So you
Yeah.
can't just think that, okay, well, I'm just going to sit behind the desk and send an email.
Right.
Now when a client, when you first, even though you use email and that's your main point of communication, do you ever, when the file first come to you, do you ever pick up the phone and introduce yourself?
That is, I know in the industry we have, and like in a lot of our transaction coordinator groups, it's mixed. Me personally, I don't. And I think a part of that, they do get a nice intro email from me. Some call me, some, if I have to reach out for them for something, like if their email's bouncing back, I'll reach out. But I won't say our priority, but our clients are the agents. Primarily, I do
Right.
reach out to their clients if necessary. If homeowners application, my agent was like, can you please call Mary? She's just very confused and I'm very busy right now. Can you just give her a call and remind her? And I think she had a question on the application. I'll call. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Agent was busy and just asked me to step in. But I always say, like, that is still your client. And so I keep the communication with your buyer seller very general. If they have a general question, I have no problem answering it for it. But we don't want to get into those conversations about the nitty gritty about the contract or anything that might go against something you would recommend to your client. We try to avoid that at all costs, because again, we're not here to step on your toes. And I always try to protect agents' license. So we primarily communicate with our agents, and the buyer and seller get their periodic emails throughout the transaction with information that I've gathered on their behalf. So they do
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, because sometimes the text goes back and forth, the email goes back and
Right.
forth, and some elderly people will say, well, I never heard from this person, I never heard. Because that's how they do things, and they
Right.
sometimes they want to talk.
Right.
Sometimes they instead of you sending them an email or a text message which they can't read, is sometimes you pick up the phone and says, hey, I'm
Right.
Allison, I'm working on Jan's case. If anything, please, I'll be sending you emails and I'll be sending you
Right.
text message. Just know that it's not spam, because there's so much scam that goes on out there.
There really is.
There's so much scam, and then the thing between when you're sending a wire, that is like
Oh, yeah.
scary in itself.
And
For an elderly person to go to the bank
right.
and actually sends a wire. I remember taking my elderly client to the bank and making sure that we verify the information for the sending the money to the title company, so they won't lose their money. So there's just so much that goes on out there. And then with so many people being on the one transaction, it's like, how do you keep up with all these people?
Right. That is true. And that's why I always say, it's like, I'm here if you need me to jump in. Like the case with the HOA application, the agent who was busy, he said, please give him a call. I can't go through this with him right now. I did it. That's not a problem. But like you said, a lot of people, we have clients that they only want to deal with their agent anyway. So to get a phone call from transaction coordinator or whoever it might be, they're put off. Like, they're like, I'm not working with you. I'm working with Viv. Like, why are you calling me? So we get it from all ends. So just from years of experience is why I have, well, we have, gotten to the way we've gotten with our clients and serving them. And at the end of the day, just like I always try to protect the agent's license, I also try to protect my own liability in many forms. Like you were just touching on wire instructions. We don't send wire instructions.
Right.
And we have, when clients say, hey, can you get the wire instructions? No, I cannot. I can get you in contact. And it's even in my instructions, but if I need to call them and let them know, like, you need to contact the escrow agent, the title company, because you need to verify with it. It's not going to come from me. And it's case in point. Last year, one of my agents, a day of closing, the title company called me in a panic. They were saying, did you get any weird emails from us? I'm like, no. She was like, your client is at the bank. And thank goodness the bank thought about it and called the title company to verify the instructions, because the buyer that day got an email from that title company saying to wire her closing funds to an account that definitely was not theirs.
Right.
So, that's why I was like, that's why I don't get involved, because nobody can ever say, Allison, send wire instructions. I do not in any form send wire instructions. I will connect the parties.
Yes.
And hopefully the escrow agent or the title company, they're using secure methods of but I said, it's even in my email signature on every email. Do not trust anything. Call the title company. I always give you the name of your contact, the email. Call them, verify. You do not want to lose large sums of money, because
and I've heard a lot of people losing large sums of money, and that's why I tell the title company, don't send it to me.
Right, do not.
Send it directly to the buyer. Send it secure so they can get it. For the elderly people, it's hard to send it secure.
Yeah.
But then if of course if I have to take them to the bank, I really have to. But
right.
I still making sure that my client is taken care of.
Exactly.
And take them to the bank or something if they need to go to the bank. But it is so scary, with that wire stuff. And I mean, it is no joke, and the government needs to step in when it comes to things like that. Where they're protecting these people, but they're just leaving everything just wide open because of greed. They're leaving everything wide open, where people are just scamming people money right and left. Or if not, there's some robocall or something like that. Just look at that client, where all of a sudden, she gets an email and now she's off to the bank to wire some money to some unknown account which she probably wouldn't even get back.
Exactly. And getting the money back, good luck. I've had another situation where someone wired their deposit, and I work with this title company all the time. They were like, he didn't wire it to us. So thank goodness, whatever bank he wired it to, and we're talking $50,000. I guess it bounced back because I guess the account number was just all completely.
Yes, praise God.
Thank goodness it bounced back. I'm like,
praise God.
Maybe you have $50,000 to throw away, but you could have thrown it. You could have thrown it at me if you wanted to give it away.
Right.
I'm very, very. I mean, a lot of my processes come from years of experience. So when I say I don't do something or I'm very leery about doing something, trust me, there's a story and a reason behind it. I want to keep my business running. I don't want lawsuits. I don't want my agents getting sued. So even though, and I said every transaction coordinator, like, I may not send wire instructions. Someone else may. So it's always finding that match with somebody that you can work together with. So there's something that I maybe don't necessarily do in my system, but maybe somebody else does. It's just finding that match. And I'm very thankful for my clients. We mesh so well, and it's all about personality. Not everybody's going to work well with each other, and I've always come to understand that. But we're here to help regardless. So it doesn't matter. You find that person that's going to be a match for your team, your assistant, your transaction coordinator, your social media person. Find those people that are going to complement your style of work and how you like to relay your message. I mean, there's somebody up, like it's like dating. There's somebody for everybody.
Oh yeah, God create a match for everyone. We have to know that. It's just like when I talked to agent that I mentored, they said, "Oh, I have one lender." I said, "You can't have one lender.
No.
One lender doesn't fit all." I said, "You need to network with a whole bunch of lenders. You need to have a dark skin one, a light skin one, a Spanish one, whatever languages they speak. Yes. You need one of each person."
You do. I mean, in our business, we meet a lot of lenders, a lot of title companies. And so if somebody's asking me for lenders, it's like if I know a little bit about their background,
Yeah,
I know who to send you to because I know
exactly.
one specializes in this area, one is but we can still get you somebody to help.
Exactly. Like I do a lot of down payment assistance and help people. Not all
Right.
lenders
Nope.
specialize in that. So I have to make sure that I fit the person to the
Exactly.
lender. And I have to watch your personality because there's some
Exactly.
lenders' personality. My personality is strong. So what I try to do is mirror and match the person and kind of back down a little bit.
Right.
But I try to when I'm setting up a referral, I try to mirror and match the lender with the client and to
Exactly.
making sure that they are getting taken care of because our duty is to make sure we're protecting the public and making sure that they're well
Mhm.
taken care of. It's not just favoritism and send them to your favorite lender. That's not the way it works. You need to send them to the lender that's going to work
It's
best for
true.
them.
And I think some people miss that. It's like, let's say somebody meets me and they're like, oh, I don't like her, the way that she speaks or
Yeah,
her format. Does that mean that you don't work with any transaction coordinators?
right.
No,
No.
no. Or you may not like my style, but you may know an agent. Like I know somebody that will match your personality,
Right. Right.
and that's how it is. I mean, you're right. We just don't need to have that one lender. We need to have
Right.
lenders or and title companies or ain't plumbers, electricians, whoever it is. Depends on what needs to be done. There's a match. There's a reason why there's so many of us. If there's only one lender that was a perfect match for everybody, then we don't need one lender.
Then we
But that's
don't
not.
exactly. And that's the way I feel. I started the Meet Me Here group where
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter. People says, oh, do you only have one lender or one person? I says no, because not one cap fit all. I says
Right.
it's a meetup group. Whosoever want to come, they come, because you got to remember I might be over here talking to this lender, you might be over there talking to that lender or something like that,
Right.
and you guys match. Or if not, I go to a new construction thing the other day, and this woman's going yep 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 and she and I've spoken to her before, but she
Mhm.
talks so much, and I
Right.
can't take it. I can't. Yep, yep, yeah. This, she sends me her stuff, and she be saying, no. I like lenders that you communicate with me well. I don't like
Mhm.
lenders that don't communicate. Tell me where my file is. Okay,
Right.
if I send you a person and they're not ready, keep in touch with them, and then keep on. Maybe you might set up once a month where you're checking on them to make sure they're
Right.
okay, because you got to set up your pipeline. If you don't set up your pipeline and then you think that, oh, well, that person ain't going to be ready for 6 months, I'm not going to call
Yeah.
them for 6 months. No, you got to keep checking on them so they remember who you are. And that's why the meetup group, Meet Me Here, anybody can come in and join. Anybody can
Right.
come when they want to, because that's what it is. You're meeting me here. We're just networking, and doing business. We're doing business together.
Exactly.
No matter who you are, just like I say, one cap doesn't fit all. Let's
It
jump a
doesn't.
little bit into once you finish with a file, the file is closed, the buyer gets their keys. What do you do after that? What do you do after you finish with your client, which is your realtor client? What happened? What takes place after that?
Well, my realtor clients, they depending on if they're new or not, because I'm not going to keep sending you the same email. They'll get especially the newer ones. They'll get a congratulations, and it's a nice little email that goes out to them. Also, depending on the other agent, thanking them as well because they were a part of making it a success. Now, to your buyer or seller, what I do is I keep everything like their contract, their addendums, their surveys, lane search, everything. So at closing, I congratulate them. Um, Regardless of buyer or seller, have a different script for each one. And I send them a zip file with all their documents, even though I've sent it to them throughout the transaction in
Mm-hmm.
case they've misplaced those emails, or if they just want one email, they'll have everything that was related that I had a copy of. And I let them know that you may have, additional things that you signed at closing that, keep those as well. But this is what I gathered for you throughout the closing. Congratulations, keep this going forward. So they'll have like their executed alta, which they will use, as several times right after closing, just so, but they have everything. And I send that right after I get the final alta from the title. I draft that email. And so they have everything in case they need to refer back to anything. I mean, yes, they may not need a lien search, but hey, you have it. So you know what was said about the property during the transaction. You have the title commitment until you get the full packet, a couple weeks, months later from the title company. It's just little helpful documents. Or if you want to refer back to your contract, you have it, or the addenda or anything like that. So I'd send that out to the client.
Now, how long do you keep that record for?
I keep my records for 3 years. And it's
Okay.
funny, it's come in handy. I've had somebody from 2 years ago like, do you have the Alta from 2 years ago? Or I had someone ask me for a survey. I was like, I actually do. I actually do have your survey from 2 years ago. And
Wow. Okay.
it's been very helpful. I mean, there was a compliance issue at one agent office. I guess they lost some files, sent them what they needed. They were like, thank you. I'm like, I don't just delete the file. I mean, it's good to keep it at least for a few years, you know.
Now, inspection. Okay, so I like to, as much as possible, hands off the entire transaction, unless I
Mhm.
see something come through, and
Right,
I have to answer the question or something like that.
right.
Then I'll answer the question. But like when you get that contract, it's executed, and do you set up? Okay, do you make sure that the escrow get delivered? Do you set up inspection? Do you help them to set up inspection?
This is again everything that I do now is because of past history. We stopped scheduling inspections. It was too much between the agent's schedule, the inspector schedule, and the buyer's schedule and the seller's schedule. It became a merry-go-round that took up a lot of our internal time. And it was just easier to just make sure it is, we remind them to schedule it. We make sure it's scheduled. We get the time. We notify the other party. So if you're on the buying side, the buyer will get an email from us with the reminder of the inspection time, the company, and a list of items the inspector will look at, some information talking about, every house is not perfect, things like that. So they get information. We also remind the other agent, like if they're on the listing side, this is when it's coming, double confirming that works. So, but we do make sure it's scheduled. The actual scheduling, my company stopped doing. Like I said, other transaction coordinators, I believe, do still offer that service.
Now, with your company, how many people do you have with your company working with you?
Working with me, it's myself and it's my coworker,
Okay.
Amelia Larkin. Yes.
Okay,
So it's
very
two
good.
of
Okay,
us.
so
Yeah.
so when you go away, nobody don't have to worry about their file that going to be left behind because you're gone on vacation.
Well, when we go on vacation, we have learned to, because I was by myself for so long,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, I learned to schedule my time off. I don't take large amounts of time off.
Right.
I might take a day or two off, which is not good. I know at some point I need to take a real
Yes,
vacation.
you
I
do.
do.
You do.
I do. And she does as well. But
Yes.
we've gotten very good at working a little bit when we're away. But if before I leave, I watch the contracts. And my one thing I do, and I did not mention this, is my clients always know what's going on with their contracts, because every Friday at about 5 o'clock,
Okay.
they get a weekly summary. So they see what has been completed,
Okay.
what is outstanding, what is pending, and what is coming up. And I send that because I say, if I'm ever abducted by aliens, you will always have the latest update as to where your
Mhm.
file is. So like, okay, she sent me that summary last Friday. Something happened. She's disappeared off. Like,
Right.
I won't. You still remember, okay, we got the title commitment, we got the survey, but we're still waiting on this. And we also put little notes, like if there's a problem, so it comes up on that transaction summary that we send out every week. And our agents do love that, because sometimes that's the only thing they really look at to see where we are. Like, because they know majority, unless there's a real problem, majority of things are handled. We don't, except for negotiations, things like that, we don't take care of. But like the anything dealing with the exact contract, they know it's being handled by us. But if I have gone away for a day or two, I usually try to take long weekends. I've scheduled to where I have things that go out automatically. So if there's a loan approval or something that's due, it's still following up. So if you see, you'll get a copy of it. So even though I'm off on a Friday, that loan approval email still went out. And when the lender responds saying XYZ, you still have the answer. So things are set to an autopilot
Mm-hmm.
situation if I'm gone for a long period of time. I always tell my agents way in advance, like usually I try to give them 30 days, taking Thursday and Friday off. You're going to get your summary that Wednesday before I leave. And I'm going to send up everything that is due within those couple days I'm gone. The auto emails are going to go out to remind certain parties, like things like title commitment aren't going to make or break anything, but like especially
Mm-hmm.
loan approvals,
Mm-hmm. Right.
yeah. So I'll say keep an eye out, because the reminders going out, and I don't send reminders. One thing I've heard is like agents saying that they've had situations where they were reminded the loan approval had passed. That doesn't happen in our situation. We're following up days before the loan approval is due. So my reminder email goes out well in advance, asking on the status, so that we know 5 days if there's a problem before it's due. If there's a problem, do we need to
Mm-hmm.
extend it? Do we need to cancel? So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
away, those are going to go out so you can make the decision and If we need to cancel or everything's good, then you're aware of it. So I don't just drop the file and bye. Like I do have some systems in place that keep it running if I'm not available.
Well, girl, you got to learn to take some downtime, though. You can't.
I know. I need a
2 days
real
is not
vacation.
enough. What you got to do is when you get off this show, okay. What you need to do is you have a partner. Okay, so what you need to do is says, okay, partner, I'm scheduling my vacation for June of this year. I'm going to be gone 7 days or whatever, because your partner can take it and run with it. So you got to make sure that you're not just taking 2 days. 2 days is not enough.
I know.
With me, I'm going to be gone a lot of time this year. So therefore, I have buyer's agent. I got transaction coordinators. I got all kinds of people that is there to help me, because I'm going to need the help, because I'm going to be when I go to NAR convention. You don't have any time to sit down and check your computer, so therefore, I don't know if you go to transaction coordinator meetings, out of state or wherever you go, but you got to balance your time. You got to balance that time. So you got to say, okay, well, partner, I'm going away, and this is how I'm going to start running it from now on, because you got to have some downtime.
I agree.
You'll get burned out, and we don't want you to do that, because you're awesome transaction coordinator. So we want you to.
Maybe I'll do it. We're talking about the downtime that in the winter, so maybe I can start scheduling some time off during then when it's not as busy.
Take the time off, just like you said, when it's not that busy. It's just like when it's not busy, we gotta take the time off. But with me, there's a certain time of year that I'm busy and a certain time I'm not. But you know what? I try to balance it. With me being on so many board of directors, it makes it tricky. That's why I have so many people. I have a marketing manager. I have a person that makes my phone calls, a transaction manager, and then I have one person that posts on my social media page, and then the other, she does my marketing creation. So I have all of that. So it alleviate all of that from me, in order for me to be able to live a better life, and have time. And then of course, like on Sunday, be able to do my podcast and things like that. So I enjoy life, but you got to enjoy life, girl. Don't forget this. You only have one life. And you never know when it's our turn. But let's talk a little bit about buying a house. It's such a great big deal to buy a house right now. A lot of people, every time I tell people about buying a house, they're telling me about the interest rate is high. And I tell them, I says, marry the house and date the rate. Because when I bought my house was 7%. Okay, now I'm down to 3% because I was able to refinance. My mortgage is so inexpensive. It includes my HOA, my taxes, my PM, my principal and interest. It includes my HOA, everything, and it's inexpensive. I think I was talking to you about, somebody rented a house for $1,600, and now it's up to $2,200, and they have paid the landlord over $130,000. And I heard that story over and over and over and over again. So let's talk a little bit about interest rate and buying down. I know you say you just bought a new home and you know what it's like going through new construction. So we're going to talk about new construction, because with new construction, I always recommend that. I still send it. With the new construction, I don't really send it to the transaction coordinator, because there's really nothing for me to do.
Yeah, I agree with you 100 on that.
Right. So there's really nothing for me to do. So I don't really send it, but I do tell them to make sure that they're getting their inspection.
Right.
Because there's so much things that it's missed, and I don't want them to miss nothing. But we were talking about the stress of buying a house and listening to fake news out there, or news that is not right about the interest rate and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about the interest rate, some of the things that you're hearing out there about the interest rate.
Well, we're talking about interest rates. I bought my first house over 20 years ago, and my interest rate was 9%. So you and I, we know that was the interest rate at one point, but the house, they were cheaper, but everything comes with the current market and our current situation. So what we're experiencing now are high interest rates compared to what people were seeing the last couple of years. But those low interest rates were unheard of. That was not meant to stay. So people got a little spoiled and thought that was going to be the rest of, that was going to go on for the next 20 years. No, it was a time. And if you I wish. I know. I wish. Me personally, I wish, because I didn't get 3% on this new construction. So, but you have to make the decision, and I made that decision. It was like I sold my house and I moved, and I didn't want to rent because, like you said, that is throwing money away. That was me renting was because I was moving cities. So I had to, figure out what my next move was. It was never the permanent decision because when, like you said, when you realize you're thinking, oh, I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year. Interest rate's too high. I'll stay in my apartment paying my landlord's mortgage for another year instead of paying my own because regardless of interest rates, buy something you can afford now. Do not go into, do not overextend yourself to where you're getting kicked out in the next year, but you have to meet the economy where it's at. And you have to make decisions based on what's best for your family, what's best for your pocket. And I can say 9 times out of 10, paying someone else's mortgage is not the best decision. So it, like you said, with the person that 100 and something thousand, that was 100 and how much principal was she paid off in a house? And the other end of it is she would have paid off the principal. Let's say she did buy something 10 years ago instead of paying. She would have had so much equity with I know. So she would have had the principal go down and she would have probably doubled the value of her house. She would be sitting on so much money. But people don't see the long game. Real estate is the long game. Sometimes you're lucky enough, you buy a property, it happens to go up the next year, which happened during COVID. But in general, when you buy something, it raises value over year after year. So if you sit on something for 5-10 years and you're getting ready to sell and you see how much you've paid off your principal and it's gone up, you're like, oh, because I have money to buy my next home. Yes, because you've been paying yourself for 10 years.
Yes.
So you have not been, yes, you're paying interest, boo, who nobody wants, but not everybody has cash to buy a house, but you're still paying something that you own and something that can turn around and either you keep and rent out or you keep for a certain amount of time and you sell it and you're on to your next home, either your dream home, your summer home, whatever you want. But you're not going to get any of those things if you're throwing your money away at rent. And I knew that lesson when I was younger, but people are afraid. And I understand. I do. It's a big investment. It's a big responsibility.
It is. It's a big. I was talking to another lady, and she said that, as a matter of fact, I sold her that house that she's living in. I was not her buyer's agent, but I was a listing agent. And she says that she paid. I think she paid 170 something thousand. And she wants to put on the market for like 600,000 or something like that. But look at how much equity that she built up inside that house because she was not throwing her money away. Now she can take that money, finish paying off for whatever little bit of mortgage that left on that house, and take it and go buy another house cash and still have money left over to buy a car or go on vacation or something like that. But people don't understand the value of buying a house. Buying a house is so important. It's so much more better than renting a house. Okay. Because, first of all, what Pastor was talking about in church today is creating generational wealth, leaving something for your children's children. Okay. Right. Because that's what we have to do. We have to set it up and leave it. But if we take it in the money and say we're paying somebody else's mortgage and their salary, then we're not leaving generational wealth for our grandchildren.
We're not. And there's something on top of the generational wealth because, I mean, like I said, this is my 3rd house I've had. The first one helped me get the second one. The second one helped me get the third one. So it's like once you start that rotation, it stays there. And one of the biggest things, not on top of that, is owning something, knowing it is yours, knowing when you turn the key, it is yours. It's like there's no feeling that I can explain it. It's like versus like, oh, the landlord has to come and change the, it's like, no, this is yours. Like, I don't know. That's just like one of the best feelings in the world is to know that you own a little piece of the world.
Gosh, it's such a great feeling that's why I say once you finish with the file and the lender tells you that the file, because they copy you on it and says the file is clear to close, CTC, clear to close. It's like, yes, that is such an awesome thing just to think that when the lender tells you you're clear to close, don't do nothing, don't move
anything,
don't do anything, stay still, don't make sure you pay everything on time, don't go out and buy a new house, don't go out and buy a new car, don't do nothing. That's just really awesome. But we have to educate And I'm glad that you educate your clients, which is a realtor, because that's what you're there for,
Yeah.
and that's how referral comes, because they know you took care of them. Because
Right.
a lot of time your business is built on referrals. If you're not doing any advertisement out there, it's for me to say, hey, Allison did my file and she's perfect. Go ahead and hire her, because you won't make a mistake, and the money that you are going to pay her, you're going to make that back trifold, because you know what, she's going to give you back your time to go lead generate, to go show another house, to get somebody under contract. Because once you get that person under contract, it's done. It's a transaction coordinator time or transaction manager time to take that from contract to closing, and all she does is fill you in once a week on a Friday and tell you where you are and if there's anything that needed.
Yeah, pretty much. And you said referral business. That's how my business grew over the last couple of years. I maybe gotten one or two clients from social media, but it's been word of mouth for me. That's why I said I love my agents. They love me and they love referring me. And I appreciate them, because it's just been, this is who you need in your life. So,
That's
and I
it.
appreciate it.
Now with your clients, like sometimes I'll do like a client appreciation or something like that. I used to do, before COVID, I used to do the blown out thing, where I rent out the Claremont Park downtown,
Right.
waterfront park. I rent it out and I invite everybody. We barbecue and stuff like that. But I kind of stopped doing that now. Now,
Yeah.
do you have like a get together or something like that for all your clientele?
I do not. My clients range from Jacksonville to
Okay, I got you.
and I just moved to Central Florida. I was in South Florida. I'm in Central Florida. So we're pretty spread out. But that's also why I love being able to do what I do, because I can work with anybody. I mean, I've worked with agents in Maryland, DC, and Virginia when I did
very good.
those states.
So you work all over. Okay.
But I love Florida. I am strictly Florida right now. Not saying I won't do another state, but Florida is near and dear. It's something that I specialize in. But yeah, we've got agents all over Florida, and that's what makes it wonderful. It's like if I go to Jacksonville, there's someone there like pop in and go see. It's like, hey, how you doing? So
I like your passion that you have. I think you have that same passion. I love selling real estate. I love helping people. I just love driving. Real estate is me. I've been in the medical field all my life, but real estate is me. I just love driving and going out there and says, hi, I'm in Sunshine, Florida. I am selling the American dream. And it's just so awesome just to say that, and I'm in Florida, and I love your passion about what you do and how you do it and how you take care of your client. Is there anything that we did not talk about that you think we should talk about before we finish this?
I think we've touched pretty much everything. I just would like to say to any real estate agents, whether you're new or you're seasoned, never be afraid to grow. Never be afraid to try something new. Never be afraid to extend your team, your business, and see where it takes you. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't. But don't be afraid to jump. That's one thing I think we always do the service to ourselves when we don't grow, when we don't try new things. We always create a disservice to ourselves. So I would say just try it. I mean, give it, like Viv wants me to go on vacation. I want real estate agents to get a team together. That's
it. You got to have a balanced life. You got to go on vacation. You got to get your team together. You have to do all of that. Right. And you have to live a balanced life. It can't be all about work all the time. Life is short. Life is short. So we have to make the best of it. We have to make the most of it, and we have to enjoy life. But I love that you enjoy what you're doing, and I can see it in your face. And I love that you're a technology kind of person. So you have all your system that works and stuff like that. But I'm just loving that. So anything else? That was last call on that.
That was it. I mean, I appreciate being able to explain about how transaction coordinators can definitely make your life better. And I just hope, it's helpful information to someone out there.
Very good. For anyone that needs Allison information, we're going to leave it underneath the comments in each platform. We're live on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, and we're also live on YouTube. So anyone that wants her information, I will be putting her website information in there. Contact information where you can contact her for anything, and she will help you guys. I'm just telling you, and it will take back your time, but you got to be able to let go of that and be able to trust somebody to take over your file, because I know sometimes it's hard to let go, and I know a lot of people who are multi-million-dollar producer that they still work on their file, but not me. not me. That's why I wanted to bring her on, because I know how it's helpful to have a transaction coordinator, transaction manager, because it's in, you be able to take back your life. But I thank you guys for watching. Now, upcoming events are going to be, I'm going to be teaching the first time home buyers class the first Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of April. So if you're looking to sign on and get some down payment assistance, Osceola is giving 80,000. Tampa is giving 80,000. Orange County is giving 50,000. Lake County, I don't know what Lake County is giving because they're abroad, but they have USDA, which means zero money down. So meet me. Meet me is going to be at Bridget New Cafe. It's going to be on Saturday, the first Saturday in April, and it's going to be we're going to be meeting me there. But our cafe is only open from 8 until 3, so we'll probably meet there the first Saturday, maybe from 12 until 3 or something like that, in between there, where we can sit, chat, exchange business card, talk, and get to know each other and use each other. That's what we're here for. We're here to use each other and build up each other's business. And don't forget, sign on to the home buyers class. If you need a link, drop your information below. If you need a copy of my book, my buyer's guide, I'll also send that out to you. Remember, today is not promised to you. Today's promised to you. You're here. Tomorrow's not promised to you. So go out and live your life. Thank you, and see you, and join me on the next episode of Your Voice Matter. I look forward. If you have a topic that you want to talk about, please send me a message. I will interview you to make sure it's the right topic for the public. Remember, we're here to educate the public and educate and make people's life better. We're here to pour into each other's life. If it's something that you want to talk about, anything that you want to talk about, join me. I look forward to seeing you next time on the episode of Your Voice Matter. Thank you for listening.